What if the person pulling away from you actually wants you to chase them? Not in the way you think, not with texts, not with calls, not with "are you okay" messages at 2 a.m., in a completely different way. A way that most women never figure out because nobody talks about it. And here is the wild part. The avoidant in your life probably does not even know they want it. It lives somewhere underneath all that distance, underneath all that silence, underneath all that "I just need space" energy they throw at you like a shield. And today, we are going to go underneath it. We are going to talk about 4 things that avoidant people secretly crave from the women in their lives, but will never in a million years ask for out loud. These are not manipulative tactics. These are not games. These are real psychological truths about how avoidant attachment works and what it actually responds to. If you have ever loved someone who runs the moment things get close, this is going to change how you see everything. Before we go any further, I want you to drop a word in the comments. Just one word. Tell me what it feels like when an avoidant pulls away from you. One word. That is all. It helps me understand who is in this community, and it helps this video reach more women who are going through exactly what you are going through. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it now. We talk about this stuff every single week. Real psychology, real relationship dynamics, no fluff. Now let us get into it, because what we are about to talk about goes against almost everything your instincts are telling you to do when an avoidant pulls back. Your instincts are not wrong, by the way. They are just wired for a different kind of person. And avoidants are not a different kind of person in the sense that they are broken or bad. They are a different kind of person in the sense that they were shaped by early experiences that taught them something very specific. They were taught that needing people is dangerous, that getting close means getting hurt, that love and loss come in the same package. So they built walls, not because they do not want you, but because some part of them believes that if they let you in all the way, something terrible will happen. They cannot always explain it. They just feel it. And so they move away right when things should be moving closer. And you are left standing there wondering what you did wrong. You did not do anything wrong. You are just dealing with someone whose nervous system is running a very old program. And the good news is there are specific things you can do that speak directly to that nervous system. Things that feel counterintuitive. Things that feel almost wrong, but that actually work. Let us talk about the first one. The first thing avoidants secretly want you to do, but will never ask for, is to stop performing happiness for them. I know that sounds strange, so let me explain it. When most women are with an avoidant, especially in the early stages of pulling away, there is this tendency to become very light, very easy, very fun. You stop bringing up hard topics. You laugh more than you feel like laughing. You become the cool, low-maintenance version of yourself because you have learned, consciously or not, that anything heavier than that sends them running. And on the surface, this makes sense. You are trying to keep the energy easy. You are trying to not be too much. But here is what is actually happening underneath that strategy. The avoidant can feel it. They can feel that the version of you showing up is curated. They can feel that there is something underneath that you are not saying. And even though their conscious mind might prefer the lighter version, their nervous system does not trust it because it is not real. And avoidants, underneath all that distance, are actually highly attuned to authenticity. They have spent their whole lives reading rooms, reading people, figuring out what is real and what is performance. It was a survival skill for them. So when you perform okayness, when you perform happiness you do not feel, they clock it. And it creates this low-level distrust that they cannot always name. They just feel like something is off. They feel like they do not quite have the real you. And ironically, that makes them pull back more. Not because you are too much, but because you are not enough of yourself. Now here is where it gets really interesting. The dirty secret of avoidant attachment is that what they actually want, what they actually crave, is a woman who is fully herself. Not in a heavy, emotionally flooding kind of way, but in a grounded, this is who I am kind of way. A woman who does not need them to manage her emotions for her, but who also does not pretend she does not have emotions. A woman who can say something honest without making it a crisis, without making it their responsibility to fix. That combination, honesty plus self-containment, is like catnip to an avoidant. It tells their nervous system something they have never quite believed before. It tells them that intimacy does not have to be dangerous, that someone can be real with them without it turning into a situation they have to escape from. So stop performing happiness. Stop editing yourself down to what you think they can handle. Be real. Be grounded. Say the honest thing in a way that is not a demand or a crisis. Just the truth, offered calmly. That is the first thing. The second thing avoidants secretly want you to do is to have a life they are not the center of. And I want you to really sit with this one, because it goes so much deeper than the usual advice you hear about just stay busy or make yourself mysterious. Those are surface level versions of something that is actually a profound psychological truth. Avoidants push away closeness because closeness in their internal world has always come with a cost. It has come with demands, with expectations, with the feeling that if they do not show up in exactly the right way, someone will be devastated. And that feeling, that weight of being someone's everything, is suffocating to them. It is not that they do not care. It is that caring feels like a trap they cannot get out of. So when you make an avoidant the center of your world, even if you think you are showing love, even if you genuinely mean it as love, what they feel on the inside is a kind of low-level panic, a tightening, a need to create distance to breathe. But when you have a life, a real, full, engaging life that exists completely apart from them, something shifts. Suddenly, they are not the center of a solar system that will collapse without them. They are just one beautiful part of something that is already whole. And that is safe. That is the kind of relationship their nervous system can actually move toward rather than away from. Now, here is the part people miss. This is not about performing independence to manipulate them. It is not about posting Instagram photos to make them jealous or being artificially unavailable so they chase you. That stuff sometimes creates short-term movement, but it does not create real closeness. Real closeness with an avoidant happens when they genuinely feel that you are okay without them, that you want them, but you do not need them to survive. That your world is full and interesting and yours, and they are being invited into something vibrant rather than expected to fill something empty. The difference between those two things is everything. One creates pressure, the other creates genuine attraction. And genuine attraction is the only thing that will actually work long-term with an avoidant. So ask yourself honestly, what does your life look like outside of this person? What are you building, creating, pursuing? What do you think about when you are not thinking about them? If the answer is not much, that is not a judgment. That is an invitation. An invitation to fill your own life so fully that your connection with them becomes an addition to something great rather than the thing you are hoping will make your life great. That shift alone can change the entire dynamic. The third thing avoidants secretly want you to do is to repair without punishing. And this one is so important. This one might be the most practically useful thing in this entire conversation. Here is what typically happens in relationships with avoidants. There is a moment of closeness, a real moment, and then they pull back. They go quiet. They become unavailable. They cancel plans. They give one-word responses. And the person on the other side of that, you, feels it. Of course you feel it. It hurts. It feels like rejection. And the natural response to feeling rejected is to either go cold yourself as a form of self-protection, or to express that hurt in a way that comes out edged with frustration or criticism or a kind of emotional punishment. Neither of those responses is wrong. They are human, but they both have the same effect on an avoidant, which is to confirm every fear they have ever had about closeness. To confirm that letting someone in eventually leads to conflict, to criticism, to emotional heaviness that feels inescapable. And so they retreat further, and you feel more rejected. And the cycle gets tighter and tighter until one of you breaks it, or the relationship breaks entirely. The way to break it, the counterintuitive way, is to repair without punishing. What does that actually mean? It means that when they come back from a period of withdrawal, you do not make them pay for it. You do not greet them with coldness. You do not bring it up immediately as something they need to account for. You do not load the reunion with the weight of the rupture. Instead, you meet them where they are. You are warm. You are present. You are the safe place they came back to because they realized at some level that they wanted to come back. And then, not in the moment of reunion, but later, from a calm and grounded place, you say the honest thing. You say something like, when you went quiet, I felt the distance, and I want us to be able to talk about that at some point. Not as an accusation, not as a punishment, as an honest expression from a person who is secure enough not to make it a crisis. That combination, warmth at the reunion plus honest communication from a grounded place later, teaches the avoidant something they have never quite learned. It teaches them that coming back is safe, that reconnection does not come with a price they have to pay. And when they learn that, slowly, in small ways over time, they start to come back faster. They start to reach out sooner after a withdrawal. They start to trust that the space between you is not going to collapse into conflict every time they try to cross it. That is how you change the pattern. Not by demanding they never withdraw, but by making the return feel safe every single time. Now, before we get to the fourth thing, which is honestly the one that surprises people the most, I want to acknowledge something. If you are in a relationship with an avoidant, what you just read in those 3 points might have already stirred something up, because you might be realizing that some of what you have been doing, even with the best intentions, even with genuine love driving every single decision, might have been feeding the cycle rather than breaking it. And that is not your fault. Nobody tells you this stuff. Nobody teaches women how avoidant attachment actually works. We get told to be more loving, to be more patient, to try harder. And we do. And it does not work. And then we get told we are not trying hard enough. So we try harder. And the avoidant goes further. And it is exhausting and confusing and genuinely heartbreaking. And I want you to know that your love was never the problem. Your strategy just needed updating. And that is what this is. An update. Not a rejection of everything you have been. Just a new set of tools for a dynamic that requires a different approach. Okay, the fourth thing. The fourth thing avoidants secretly want you to do is to make them feel like a choice, not a project. And I want to unpack this slowly because it is easy to misunderstand. When you love someone who has an avoidant attachment style, there is often a moment, sometimes early, sometimes after things start to feel uncertain, where the relationship quietly shifts from being a joy to being a project. You start researching attachment theory. You start analyzing their behavior. You start strategizing your responses, crafting your texts, managing the timing of your calls. All of it in service of figuring out how to unlock this person, how to get them to open up, how to make them feel safe enough to stay. And listen, educating yourself is good. Understanding attachment is genuinely useful. But when all of that learning turns into a quiet campaign to fix or change or unlock a specific person, something shifts energetically. Something shifts in how you show up. You stop being a woman who wants to share something with someone. You start being a woman who needs something from someone. And avoidants, remember, are exquisitely sensitive to the difference. They can feel when they are being managed, when someone's behavior around them is calculated, when they are more of an assignment than a person. And that feeling, that sense of being a project to be solved, activates all their old fears. Because being someone's project means being responsible for their emotional outcome. And that is exactly the trap they have been running from their whole lives. So what they actually want, what they secretly crave, is to feel chosen. Not chosen because you have decided to fix them. Not chosen because you believe that underneath all the avoidance there is a perfect partner waiting to emerge if you just do everything right. But chosen because you genuinely see them, avoidance and all, and you want to be with them. Not a future version of them, the actual current version of them. Messy and complicated and sometimes frustrating as it is. Now that does not mean you accept being treated badly. It does not mean you have no standards. Standards are actually incredibly important with avoidance, and we will come back to that. But it means that the energy you bring into the relationship is one of genuine desire rather than strategic maneuvering. It means you are there because you want to be there, not because you are trying to prove something or fix something or win something. When an avoidant feels that, when they feel genuinely chosen by someone who is whole and self-possessed and not running a quiet campaign to transform them, something changes. The walls do not fall all at once. Avoidant attachment does not work that way, but they begin to lower, slowly, in moments you might almost miss if you are not paying attention. A joke that goes slightly longer than usual. A piece of vulnerability that comes out sideways, almost like they did not mean to say it. A moment of physical closeness they initiate rather than receive. These are the signs. These are the moments when the work is actually working. Not because you did everything perfectly, but because you stopped making it work and started being real. Now, I said we would come back to standards, and I meant it. Because there is something about this conversation that I think can be misread if we are not careful. Nothing in what we have talked about today is an instruction to be endlessly patient with someone who is not growing. Nothing here is a suggestion that you shrink yourself indefinitely in service of someone else's comfort with intimacy. Standards matter enormously. Self-respect matters enormously. And here is the thing about avoidance that most people do not realize. They actually need to see your standards. Not as a weapon, not as an ultimatum delivered from a place of desperation, but as a natural expression of who you are and what you know you deserve. When an avoidant sees that you have standards, real ones, and that you will hold them calmly and without drama, two things happen simultaneously. First, they respect you more because they have spent their whole lives dealing with people who either have no standards or who weaponize their standards as a form of emotional control. Someone who holds their standards with quiet confidence is genuinely rare in their experience. Second, and this is the deeper thing, your standards actually make you safer to them. Because they tell the avoidant that you are not going to let the relationship become something unhealthy without saying something. And paradoxically, that makes them more willing to lean in. Because part of the avoidant's fear of closeness is the fear that once they are in, they are trapped, that they cannot leave, that the emotional cost of exit will be enormous. When they see that you are a person with standards, a person who would leave something that was not working, they realize that being close to you is not a trap. It is a choice. And choices feel safe. Obligations feel suffocating. So by having standards and holding them, you are not pushing an avoidant away. You are, paradoxically, making it safer for them to stay. Let me tie all of this together now. because I want you to walk away from this with something you can actually use, not just a collection of ideas, but a real shift in how you approach this. The avoidant in your life is not broken. They are not unlovable. They are not incapable of intimacy. They are someone who learned very early that closeness was dangerous, and their entire nervous system was shaped around that lesson. That does not make them easy to love. It does not mean the path forward is simple, but it does mean there is a path. And the path is not about doing more of what you have been doing. It is not about being more patient or more available or more understanding in the way you have been understanding. The path is about being more yourself. It is about having a life. It is about repairing without punishing. It is about making them feel chosen rather than managed. It is about holding your standards without making them into weapons. None of this is easy, and none of it is fast. Avoidant attachment shifts slowly. Trust builds in small moments, not grand gestures. And you are going to have days where none of this feels like it is working, where they pull back again and you feel that familiar ache of wondering what you did wrong. On those days, I want you to remember something. You are not trying to change who they are. You are creating conditions where who they already are, underneath all the protection, has a chance to show up. You cannot force that, but you can make it possible. And that is actually a profound kind of love. Not the desperate chasing kind, not the performing people-pleasing kind, the grounded, self-possessed, real kind. The kind that says, here is who I am. Here is what I value. I see you and I want to be here, but I am not going to lose myself in the hoping. That is the kind of love that has a chance with someone who is avoidant, because it is the only kind of love that does not trigger the very thing they are afraid of. It is the only kind of love that feels like safety rather than a threat. And when an avoidant finally feels safe, really safe, not managed, not handled, just genuinely safe, that is when everything changes. That is when you stop wondering if they are going to leave and start experiencing what it actually feels like to have them choose to stay. If this resonated with you, if something in here clicked into place, drop a comment and tell me which of the 4 things surprised you the most. And if you are not subscribed yet, do that now. Every week we go this deep into real relationship psychology, the kind that actually changes how you understand yourself and the people you love. And that is worth staying for.